Good evening, alien lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, the resident ooky spooky girly, and today is another day where I wish I had access to the Vatican's history viewing device so I could find out the truth about ancient aliens and Earth for once and for all. Question for y'all, what event in history stands out the most for you as proof that aliens helped shape our world? Let me know in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 unsettling ancient alien signs we can no longer ignore. Number 5, an ancient fortress. Outside the old Inca capital of Cusco, a fortress called Sacsayhuaman is hanging out in the Peruvian Andes. Built from enormous stones that have been chiseled and stacked together like a jigsaw puzzle, some say this fortress could be the work of an ancient civilization that had help from, interstellar friends. The 1,000-year-old interlocking fortress walls are made of rocks that weigh as much as 360 tons each, and which were carried more than 20 miles before being lifted and fit into place with laser-like precision. How an ancient culture accomplished such a feat of engineering is a fun little problem to solve. Turns out the Inca were as adept at building houses and fortified complexes as they were as watching the sky and keeping calendars. As a matter of fact, this fortress isn't the only example of this intricate masonry. Similar walls exist throughout the Inca Empire, including one in Cusco where a 12-angled stone has been carefully wedged into place. Something I'll bring up a lot today is that the marvels of ancient architecture just can't be explained by what we know about history. Sure, by modern standards some of it can be explained, but our technology had to evolve to that point first. The only way it can make sense in history is if we got help from, a more advanced species? Number 4, graffiti inside the Great Pyramids. In the heart of the city of El Giza stands the Giza Pyramid Complex, also known as the Necropolis. This architectural marvel contains 3 pyramids: the Pyramid of Khafre, the Pyramid of Menkaure, and of course the Great Pyramid of Giza. Although each was created for a different pharaoh, many historians are convinced that their collective design is cohesive and intentional, as the arrangement of these structures is possibly a representation of the Orion constellation. The complex's crown jewel, though, is the Great Pyramid. Most believe it was erected under the watchful eye of the pharaoh Khufu to be a tomb where the king would complete his transformation into a god in the afterlife. Standing around 146.7 meters high and stretching 234.4 meters wide, it looms above everything around it. It was assembled from 2.5 million stone blocks, some of which came from over 500 miles away, which is particularly amazing when you consider that they didn't have the use of wheels at the time, and that construction only took 20 years. If that sounds like a lot to anyone, try living in Toronto, where construction takes that long to renovate like a single street. And by the time it's done being renovated, workers take so long they have to do it again. Whoever designed and built the pyramids had incredibly detailed knowledge and architectural skill. When completed, the pyramid towered over the city, and its corners aligned almost exactly with the points of a compass. In general, Egyptians often oriented structures to true north pretty precisely, likely using stars such as Polaris to orient their work, and the Great Pyramid is no exception. The origins and composition of the Great Pyramid, our oldest wonder of the world, and its slightly less famous kin, have long confounded scholars. So, how did engineers manage to achieve these seemingly impossible feats that building these masterpieces would require? Well, the truth is, nobody knows for sure. While some believe that construction workers may have used large ramps to transport the stones, this theory has been largely disproven, as there is little archaeological evidence to support the claim. Naturally, theories arguing that aliens must have constructed the pyramid have come into play. It's true that it would have been difficult for humans to build the pyramids, and there's precious little historical evidence of how they were built. Citing this, as well as the architectural and scientific questions that surround the pyramids, many people, myself included, have proposed that aliens came to Earth in ancient times and helped kickstart civilizations. According to these theories, the aliens were instrumental in helping ancient Egyptians build their masterpieces. Believers like us argue that in order to design the pyramids as they are, one would need a bird's eye view, the kind that can be provided from, say, a flying saucer. They also believe that in order to create an object that obeys the so-called golden ratio, a mathematical relationship based on the special number phi, the Egyptians would have needed help from outside sources. Hey look, the alien theory has persisted to the present day. In 2001, Russian scientist Dr. Viktor Ivanovich claimed that the KGB had found ancient alien remains inside of the Great Pyramid. Certainly the Great Pyramid's inner network of shafts, passageways, and chambers is so intricate that it's not hard to understand why people believed that some kind of divinity or superintelligence was involved. Also, the only hieroglyphs inside are graffiti, alleged to be left behind by those who worked on the structure as a signature, which only further supports my theory on the aliens only knowing that to communicate with us by. Like time capsules, the pyramids are physical symbols of ancient wisdom. Made of glittering gold limestone and always remaining around a cool 20 degrees centigrade inside, they provide glimpses of an ancient society that once neared the kind of technological intelligence we possess today. Hey, maybe in 2,000 years, historians will speculate about the extraterrestrial origins of our fallen civilization, and by then, they'll be able to consult actual aliens aliens for help. Number 3. Helicopter hieroglyphs. Depictions of modern craft found in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs have been hailed as proof of time travel, and even an advanced alien civilization visiting our ancestors. For folks like us, hieroglyphs appearing to resemble planes and helicopters in artwork done thousands of years ago have been hailed as unequivocal proof that the ancient Egyptians were visited by beings who brought them advanced technology from the future, with many supporters of the theory saying if the ancient civilization was putting helicopters and modern spacecraft in their artwork, then they must have seen them or at least observed images of them, which makes sense to me. The helicopter hieroglyphs is a name given to part of an Egyptian hieroglyph carving from the temple of Seti I at Abydos. They've been interpreted as an out-of-place artifact depicting a helicopter as well as other examples of modern technology. The initial carving was made during the reign, like I said, of Seti I and translates to "He who repulses the 9 enemies of Egypt." It was later filled in with plaster and recarved during the reign of Ramesses II with the title "He who protects Egypt and overthrows the foreign countries." Over time, the plaster has eroded away, leaving both inscriptions partially visible and creating a palimpsest-like effect of overlapping hieroglyphs. As with all dates in ancient Egypt, the actual date of Seti's reign are unclear, and various historians propose different dates, with 1294 BC to 1279 BC and 1290 BC to 1279 BC being the most commonly used by scholars today. Back to the hieroglyphs. So the 3,000-year-old hieroglyphs found in the temple are said to depict a helicopter, plane, and futuristic aircraft among the usual, insects, symbols, and snakes. One popular theory, known as the ancient aliens theory, is that the advanced race who brought details of futuristic technology to the Egyptians were visitors from a far-flung, highly advanced planet, visiting to share their knowledge with the primitive communities here on Earth. The beliefs claim that these extraterrestrials were the ones behind the development of the pyramids, Stonehenge, and other famous monuments. And this wasn't the first, nor the last time I will be talking about that today. Steve Mera is a UFOologist who tours the country giving talks on the research he conducts, and at UFO conferences, he produces the helicopter hieroglyphs as part of the debate. During one specific talk in Warminster, Wiltshire, he pointed out the helicopter, describing how it has what looks like a rotor blade and a rudder, also possibly a wing. Look, they had to have the visual from somewhere. Just saying. Number 2. Stonehenge. So the mystery of Stonehenge has baffled historians for centuries. One of the never-ending questions about the ancient site is whether or not it contains hieroglyphics. And in 2015, a scientific paper was published by a mathematician, Dr. A. Lobin, in the form of a diary. He discovered ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs in Stonehenge and determined the site as the solar Egyptian temple of the god Atum. However, there are several other theories that suggest that the site may have used to record messages or stories. One theory suggests the stones themselves may have been carved with hieroglyphics, and that theory is based on the fact that many other sites, such as the pyramids of Egypt, were also decorated with such writing. Another theory suggests that the stones may have been used as a giant sundial, with the hieroglyphics acting as a way to record the movements of the sun. So this theory is supported by the fact that Stonehenge is aligned with the movements of the sun and moon. Whatever the true purpose of it is, it's clear that the site was of great importance to the ancient people who built it. Speaking of which, who built that thing, and why did they build it? Nabta Playa, as it is now known, is not easily accessible. It is thought that the stones are among the oldest astronomical alignments of megaliths in the world, and were built by a nomadic society in the early centuries of Stonehenge, and it's possible that they were built by an ancient civilization. Also, the tomb nearby was also only filled with only cattle bones, which is really unusual. My theory, and ergo why it made today's list, is that the anomalies point more towards alien advanced communication instead of isolated humans. Also, there haven't really been signs of human life. Only cattle, like I mentioned before, which supports my theory, and not to sound like a broken record today, but if there's something I can't leave out, where there are hieroglyphs, there are things we as humans can't explain. It furthers my theory that one of the languages aliens can communicate with, and the reason they don't visit more now compared to in history, is because of how much we no longer communicate with them, now that it's not a regularly used language. Stonehenge is thought to have been formed between the ancient Neolithic and Bronze Ages, while the pyramids are thought to have formed during the Iron Age. For those who need more precision, Stonehenge is thought to be around 3,100 years old, while the pyramids are thought to be around 4,500 years old. Just for reference. Number 1. An alien mummy. Another sign that excites supporters of the claim that ancient Egypt was visited by aliens is a mummy discovered in a small pyramid near Senusret II's pyramid. Now, the structure of its skeleton doesn't really resemble that of a human's body. It's a skeletal conundrum made up of perplexing features. So it's only 6 inches tall, but initial estimates of the age of the bones were consistent with someone in the single digits of age. But the face is what looks especially different. The long angular skull with slanted eye sockets and fewer than normal ribs, 10 pairs rather than the normal 12, only really deepen the mystery. The mummy was discovered by Dr. Victor Lubeck, a retired professor from the University of Pennsylvania. The remains were found surrounded by unusual objects that could not be identified. An anonymous source claimed that the mummy does not originate from Earth, and that it has greatly troubled Egyptian authorities, who want to keep it a secret. According to the source, in life the mummy served as an advisor to the pharaoh Osirhunet. Governments refuse to admit the implications that such a discovery has for human history, but they still fail to provide the world with a significant explanation for it. When I tried to learn more about this mummy, most of the links and resources had randomly gone missing and weren't archived anywhere, which tends to be par for the course when the government wants to cover up the truth about anything to do with aliens. I swear one of these days I'm just gonna go missing, and the government will be to blame. And that brings us to the end of our list. If you enjoyed my arguments and proof today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more alien content from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.